Rise and shine. Pour yourself a cup of coffee and tune in to Good Morning Aurora. News, weather, and really cool interviews. Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m.
Howdy everyone, I'm Joshua Schultz.
Tyler Waldrop, Stealth Art.
We're here at Treadwell Coffee, and make sure you tune in to Good Morning Aurora.
All right, good morning Aurora, good morning Aurora, good morning Aurora. The time is now 8:06 a.m. and you are listening to Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. And we are joined today by our brother, Sosa.
Yes.
All right. Good to have you, my brother. Good to have you. Good to see you. So we got a lot to talk about today. We'll be discussing new black youth, talking about life, liberty, interviewing our brother Sosa and everything like that. But before we do that, you know, we have the news for you guys today. So first and foremost, I want to give a shout out and a thanks to a friend of the show, and I want to highlight an awesome business called LISC, which is Local Initiatives Support Corporation. Now, the LISC forges resilient and inclusive communities of opportunity across America, great places to live, work, visit, do business, and raise families. Now, catalyzing opportunity for all. That's their vision. A safe home for those who have given so much to America. This is a very good organization, and we'd like to say thank you and shout out to our friend Vanessa Aguirre of this organization. Very cool. And her email is vaguirre@lisc.org. You can check that out. She's a great person, and they're doing great stuff at Local Initiative Support Corporation. All right, big shout, big shout. CAN, the Community Advocacy Awareness Network, and Marie Wilkinson's Food Pantry are coming together to put on a free coats, hats, and gloves giveaway. Now, this is going to be on Saturday the 14th from 8:30 to 11 a.m. at East High School. Enter on Smith Street. Shout out to Mary Foltz and all the folks at the Marie Wilkinson's Food Pantry. Always doing good stuff. The senior meal distribution was yesterday. All right, that's old news, y'all. That's old news. That's old. We're going to move on from that. Well, I'll tell you what is new news is the downtown cocoa crawl. Without the crawl, you can get your mugs. Those are on sale, and they also come with hot cocoa recipes. Yeah. So, you know, not even the little Swiss Miss with the, no, upgrade from that. All right. Let's see here. Interfaith Food Pantry hosting Veterans Pantry tomorrow. They have 7 pieces of plywood that have been primed that they would like patriotic themed paintings on. There is still time for you to pick up your 4x8 already primed plywood piece provided by the AFP. Becky Dunnigan, the Community Outreach and Program Coordinator, is the contact. Her email is rDunnigan@aurorafoodpantry.org. Shout out to the Food Pantry for all of the good stuff that they do on a continual basis. ARTA, AARTA, just discovered this group. Told you guys about it. Been telling you about it for a week now. This group here was founded in 1958. They do community service projects, including labor and cash donations to local food pantries. On December 1st, correct, Tuesday, December 1st, they have their second drive-through box dinner sale from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at Gaslight Manor. Entree options are Greek chicken, roast pork, and fettuccine alfredo. Side dishes include roast potatoes, green beans, and dessert. Proceeds benefit Coats for Kid Drive by Aurora Communities and Schools, CIS, and Artist Scholarship Fund. The public is invited. The cost is $20. Reservations are required. We will send you that information on Facebook and Instagram. Again, the deadline for reservations is Friday, November 20th. Now, on to some not so good news. You know, we are in Tier 2 mitigation now. Shut down again and everything. You know, folks not wearing their masks, crowding into bars and all that. You're out there partying and everything. We're not going to put no bars on blast, but you know. So now we have new mitigations for Kane, DuPage, and Will counties. Bars, all bars close at 11 p.m. and may reopen no earlier than 6 the following day. No indoor service. All bar patrons should be seated at tables outside. No ordering, seating, or congregating at the bar. Bar stools should be removed. Damn. They going in. Tables should be 6 feet apart. No standing or congregating indoors or outdoors while waiting for a table or exiting. No dancing or standing indoors. Reservations required for each party. No seating of multiple parties at one table. And no tables exceeding 6 people. Sheesh. Restaurants. No tables exceeding 6 people. No seating of multiple parties at one table. Tables 6 feet apart. And meetings, social events, and gatherings, including weddings, funerals, and potlucks, limit to 10 guests in both indoor and outdoor settings. No party buses. Gaming and casinos close at 11, are limited to 25% capacity, and follow mitigations for bars and restaurants. Wow, that is crazy. Effective tomorrow, y'all. So please, stay safe, wash your hands, wear your mask, do all that good stuff, and if you can help not going nowhere for the dollar drink night, stay at home. I don't know. Open your little barefoot Moscato at home.
There you go.
Yeah, ladies, just chill out one night.
Yeah.
Brothers do the same thing. Now the weather. Current temperature is 66 degrees. The high today looks like it'll be 72, and that'll be at noon. Tomorrow's going to be sunny and 46. Thursday, sunny and 54. Friday, sunny and 43 degrees. Today looks like the last day of warm weather. But it looks like it's going to rain crazy tonight starting at 5 p.m. There's a 70% chance of rain, moving to a 100% chance of rain at 6 p.m. So, buckle up, Buttercup. It's on with the weather. All right. And now, that is the news. So now let's get into our interview with our brother, Sosa.
Yes.
Good to see you, my brother.
You too,
Good to see you, man.
You know, every time I see you, I feel like there is something going on in the world, but we're here today, so that's all that counts.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So the last time you and I saw each other, we were taking part in a little sit-down community discussion. It was outside of City Hall,
Yep.
right there. The sun was out shining that day.
Beautiful. Too beautiful. It's hot.
Yeah. So for the listeners, let everybody know who you are, where you're from.
So my name is Sosa. I'm Asemota. I am a resident of Oswego, Illinois. Graduated from Oswego High School, but right now I am a graphic designer, a Photoshop artist, as well as a head designer for my own clothing brand. So that's who I am. That's where I am today. I'm blessed to be where I am today. So
Nice. Growing up, what impact did your mom have in your life?
Oh, heavy impact. A lot of people don't know this, but I grew up with a lot of adopted siblings, like 4 boys when I was 1. My mom took heavy part in raising all of us, and being a black mother with honestly some hard-headed boys, it was a challenge. It had its own hassles, but she did it. She did a great job. She definitely kept food on the table. She kept spirits high, kept everybody energized throughout my entire childhood. So I want to give a clap for mom. But,
Word up.
mhm.
That's good. How many siblings?
So I had, I'm not trying to say all their names. They're my adopted cousins. I had my older sister, but then I had the oldest boy, whose name was Donnell. Another one, Dante. Then the 2 younger ones, Dwayne and Quentin. We're all around the same age, like 1 year apart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mhm.
And you're in grad school?
I'm not. So
You're not?
at the moment, I am a student at NIU.
Okay.
But I did take a step away this semester with everything going on. I just wanted to see how, things would play out with COVID, with the workspace, and how, we'd be able to make it manage with COVID. And I feel like I made a good decision to step away, because right now I see colleges blowing up with COVID cases. Kids aren't getting the proper education that they're paying for. It's a lot of mess going on, and I feel like I dodged it. So
Nice. How has COVID impacted your life personally?
So I actually contracted COVID back in early September. I would never wish COVID on anybody, simply because it was something that I've never even experienced. It was a whole different sickness, and I'm not even gonna lie. I was one of those people who was like, I don't know anybody with COVID. I feel like this is all cap. This is lie, but I got it, and it's very real, and it's very dangerous, and it was hard to sleep. That's how painful it was to breathe sometimes. So it was like, it's a lot, honestly. So
And you went to one of the local test sites and discovered and everything like that?
Yeah.
What was the process like?
So the process, I'll start from the beginning. You know, I walked into work that day. I felt like I had an itchy throat, nothing more or less than that. But as soon as I walked in, my supervisor instantly seen my face. He was like, "Yo, you're pale." And you know, being a dark-skinned person, I don't know what pale looks like.
Right.
What
you trying to say?
I was like, he was like, "You're pale." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "Yeah. Honestly, I'm just gonna have you go home. Make sure you get tested for COVID as soon as possible." I was like, "Sure." I went and got tested the next day. I went to a CVS where they do the drive-through testing. It was quick and easy. I got my results in like 2 to 3 days, but by this time, now I'm really sick. Before I even got my results in, I'm stuck in bed. I had the chills, muscle aches, chest pains. Oh man, it was painful. But then I got my results back, and I was told, "Yeah, you tested positive for COVID, and you know, try your best to stay indoors. You know, we're gonna do some tracking to see who you're in contact with." But after that, I was just stuck in the crib for 2 weeks.
Damn. So how long did the entire sickness last?
I feel like I was sick for like 4 days. Like the first 4 days was pretty tough. But after that, you know, the sickness started to preside. The lingering symptoms were really just like runny nose, itchy throat, almost like those regular cold symptoms.
Right.
But those first 3 or 4 days, it felt like I had a flu stacked on top of a fever, stacked on top of asthma. It was just a lot. So
damn.
Yeah.
What's your word to those who say, "Oh man, come on, Sosa, it's no worse than the flu, baby"?
Oh man, what I will say is make sure you keep your mask on, because it is worse than the flu, and spreading this disease is way more effective. Like it affects a lot of people.
Right.
Just because you're young doesn't mean that you are immune to the symptoms. It doesn't mean that it won't affect you or people that you love. People go home and infect their whole family, unfortunately. And just being the youth, it doesn't mean that, you know, you should go out here and party and keep enjoying yourselves, because those times and those memories can be recreated.
Right.
But if you mess around and, you know, you pass this on to your mother or your father or your uncle or whoever it may be, and they lose their life, that's something that you can't, you know, recover.
Right.
So
your selfishness could get somebody else hurt.
Exactly. And, you know, I've been seeing plenty of people partying. I've been seeing plenty of people going to bars and, you know, just trying to make those memories, you know, make those snaps. But it's never really worth it. I feel like we should, as a people, unify to fight this cause, because this is the only, you know, the only thing that's attacking people non-biasly. It doesn't care what you look like. It doesn't care your, you know, social status, your economical status. It's just attacking humans. And if humans can't unite to fight something that only wants to kill humans, I don't know what we can unite against. So that's just something that I want people to keep in mind when, you know, we go out to see our friends and family, just to stay safe at the end of the day.
Now, you grew up in Oswego?
I moved to Oswego when I was in 5th grade.
Where'd you go to high school?
Oswego High School.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oswego High School.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's talk about your brand.
Yeah.
What's the brand?
So my brand is called Death and Designer. You know, the name is a bit morbid. You know, people are like, oh,
super.
Death. Yeah, like that. You know?
A little bit.
You know, what's the story behind that? And, you know, when I first came up with the name, I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to be about, because really when it comes down to creating a brand, it's about making who you are public knowledge, in my personal opinion, because people don't just buy clothes. They buy an idea, they buy a vision, they buy the person that they can stand behind when it comes down to leading a brand. With the word death, it's strange because people are infatuated with death. And it sounds weird, like nobody likes to die or nobody likes death. But in American culture, that's all we see. Not just in our day-to-day, but I'm talking about our cinema, our music. Our top charting music is hip-hop music, especially being in Illinois. Now it's the drill movement, you know. To a lot of people, that's action music. When I put Death and Designer together, to me, it's bringing people together in the sense that there's been a lot of unfortunate deaths in our state over streetwear and clothes and shoes and stuff that shouldn't even really matter. And as a clothing designer, as a streetwear enthusiast, I'm gonna publicly say and openly say clothes doesn't matter unless it's something that is keeping you warm, something that is, you know, pushing you forward as an individual. Streetwear, clothes, none of that matters, simply because it's only to continue to build our capitalist nation, you know, just keep putting money in people's pockets. But it's more than that. It's more than just, you know, looking nice. It's about representing an idea. And my idea behind the brand isn't necessarily just streetwear for the sakes of streetwear. I want to promote, I want to protest with everything that I do when it comes to my designs. So a lot of my designs will consist of nature shots, and right now I'm working on my birds and the bees collection, which is bringing people back to the idea of what's natural and what's not natural. Because I feel like as humans, we're lost in the unnatural, but we need to get back to what's really important, which is, you know, taking care of each other and our planet.
Lost in the unnatural.
Mm-hmm.
I know what you mean by that without having to have it explained.
Yeah.
Lost in the unnatural.
And you know, to break that down, you know, I feel like as individuals, like me personally, when I'm driving to work, I like to just listen to nothing and just think to myself. And I look around and I see what's going on, and what's going on is very unnatural. You know, we have people out here who live on the streets who are homeless, but at the same time you see some of the richest people in our city walking right by them, you know, suits tucked, looking very fly, but that doesn't mean that the rich man is better than the poor man in that sense. That just means that there's two different worlds that we're living, both fabricated, both fake worlds, based on the way that we live. You know, we tend to put the value of an individual next to a number. You know, if they can produce this much money, their value is, you know, equated right next to that. But I feel like that should not be the case. I feel like that's the most self-destructive ideals that we have. Because then,
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but the question's in my mind right now. How do you think America got to the place where we started putting the net worth of people and identifying that? What happened?
you know, I feel like it goes back very far. Not even just with America's roots, but with the roots of Europe, in the sense where when we decided to expand, colonize, as a people, like we looked at these different nations, we looked at these different continents, and we were like, what can we take from them to bring back to our home that will make us flourish? What can we take to make us a better nation?
Right.
And that whole mindset trickled down till today, not even just in America, but around the world. We're looking for opportunities to just take, and when we take these opportunities, we step on people who are less fortunate, or people who aren't as capable to take advantage of those opportunities. Like, for example, the colonization of Africa, in the sense where most of, if not all, Europe looked at Africa and they divided it into pieces, and they looked at the resources, they looked at the people, they looked at what they can take to make their riches richer and their poorest poor. I mean, not the poorest poor, but it made the nation poor. And a lot of it was ran by big business. It's not even necessarily the government, like the East India Company. There's a lot of businesses that just capitalized on, you know, taking advantage of the meek.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of those companies have since grown into different things. Yeah.
Yeah. It's still here today. We're looking at those companies' descendants, and it's no coincidence that we see some of the poorest people in our nation around some of the richest people in our nation. Whenever you see a lot of poverty, you usually see a pretty decent amount of wealth that's only in 1 to 2% of the people's pockets in that area, but 50%. Yeah.
You know, a person was complaining about here in Aurora, complaining, saying, why can't the mayor get rid of these homeless people? Why is there so many? That is a condition. That comes with a large city.
Yeah.
When you have large cities, that is unfortunately, transient is unfortunately what comes with that. People don't believe that though.
And they tend to point fingers at the homeless, for their condition. And a lot can be done for the homeless, in my personal opinion. But it takes a humble mind, because again, a lot of people see themselves better than the homeless. And I feel like in order to effectively help anyone, you need to, be on their level.
So Death and Designer, if I gather you correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
Death and Designer represents in a way the futility of chasing the buck.
Yes.
And everything like that. Death and Designer highlights, the individual rather than the cause. Is that correct? Is that a way to say it?
In a sense, because I want people to feel like that they can be their absolute self.
Okay.
When wearing the brand. And
okay.
When I was discussing on streetwear earlier, there's kids out here spending $80 on a T-shirt, spending
right
$120 on a hoodie, when all of it's made from the same. It's a Gildan hoodie you're wearing, bro. Just with the print.
Thank you.
So the fact that you're willing to drop all this money on stuff that is the most unnatural thing, in my personal opinion, I'm just over splurging on stuff that doesn't necessarily matter, when there's things that you can be investing in, which can be your community. It can be, you can even invest in yourself. You can invest in stocks with that money. There's a lot of things as youth that we're not educated on, but we have kids out here. Well, I mean, with COVID, that kind of changed, but there's kids out here capitalizing on streetwear as if it was stocks and, art or gold that has changing and fluctuating values like stocks.
Sure.
And I feel like that's the wrong image. I feel like clothes should really just be something that you can stand behind, something that represents you as an individual, something that you can speak towards, because again, you're wearing branding on you. The branding that you wear on you is very important. I
agree with that.
So
I totally agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's it's the mentality too. The $7.99 hoodie from Walmart is whack.
Mm-hmm.
The same hoodie with your little, Air Jordan or whoever it may be on it, $100. That's what you need, and it's the same cotton, same material.
Came from the same factory.
Yeah.
I guess a different hand touched it at the end of the day. But I was one of those kids. Like I said, I grew up with a lot of siblings, and I was wearing like And One or Reebok.
Oh Lord, And One.
Yeah.
And down to the flow.
And I used to get picked apart for it at school. And a lot of people, like, kids are mean for starts. But, it's like stuff like that shouldn't matter when it comes down to equating value in an individual. And that goes back down to putting $1 next to somebody when it comes down to figuring out their value. When I feel like, again, that holds people back. That is not natural when it comes down to human interaction. I feel like we're the only species who are self-destructive in the sense that, well, if I make more money than you, then I'm better than you. Or your struggles don't matter to me because they don't align with my struggles. So I feel like when we can find a common ground, that's when a lot of these social discrepancies can be figured out.
Man, that's deep. That's deep. I think this is like the second time I've ever been stumped on my own damn show. Yeah. No, that's deep though. I'm looking at it from the perspective of a consumer, and I'm going back to think about all the little fashion I was chasing. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get the new joints when they come out and all that. And there was a line, I think, when the marijuana dispensary opened. There's a huge line for that. Air Jordan shoes dropped. There's a huge line for that. The line for voting and people of color in that, it's not very long.
No.
Our priorities are messed up, to your point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, where can folks find your brand and material?
So the website is active, just deathanddesigner.com. That's where you're going to find more information on me and my team and what we plan to do and our vision. I'm also active on Instagram at deathanddesigner. But back to your point, you know, I feel like as people of color, and that comes back to the topic that I wanted to discuss with, you know, the new youth. I feel like there's a great awakening happening amongst black people, white people, and, you know, a lot of people alike. And it's starting to shift from, you know, the material things, the streetwear, the clothes, but now it's more on a relationship level. The people, at least people that I'm around, the people that I've been seeing, they've been very actively trying to build these relationships, work on these relationships, especially living in Oswego. There's a lot of colorism. There's a lot of racial prejudice that a lot of the youth had to fight through, a lot of the white youth. And with that, you know, they're starting to build these relationships with kids of color and people of color. And it's to me, it's a beautiful thing, but we also have to look at ourselves in the mirror. Like, you know, there's people out there investing in stocks, but then there's people out there investing in shoes to resell as if it's, you know, something similar or something that is of equal value, which I definitely see the financial gain in it. But, you know, like we seen during the protests, you know, there's somebody who is willing to fight and die over a pair of sneakers. But someone, you know, that same pair of sneakers that you would buy, sell, trade, resell, whatever, like it is a stock, you can buy a physical stock. That's not something that someone's going to try to rob from you. No one's going to try to kill you over a stock. You know, it's about self-investing.
Question. Yeah. Can black people be racist?
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. And, you know, when we say racist, I mean in the terms of, you know, a prejudice towards a different individual based on their experiences. And with black racism, it's an interesting thing because, you know, due to the experiences that we faced, we have a lot of our own bias. Even myself, like living where I live, I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm racist, but I'm very aware of the climate in my city when it comes down to just the individuals. Like if I see, well, I'm gonna use this as an example. Me and my mom, we went to the Sprint store. I got a new iPhone. The clerk there, who was claiming he was also the manager, he was a very clear skinhead, a very clear white supremacist. At least that was my opinion. That was my interpretation off of my first look at the man, and I didn't know him. Technically, that's prejudice. That's me prejudging the man before I got to know him or even got to speak to him. Which, in that sense, yes, that is a form of racism. Do I hate the man? Not necessarily, but he was very. My hunch was correct in the sense where he was very disrespectful to my mother, to myself. I had on these Crocs, right? And I'm an artist, so I drew on them, I designed them, whatever, yada yada. And he was like, "Oh, I see your shoes. That's funny. You must have got them signed by Jordan, ha ha." And, you know, making these little slick remarks. Or, hey, you know, Sprint and T-Mobile partnered up, and, you know, you can get coupons. I know you like a coupon for Popeyes, right? Like these are the subtle remarks that he's making.
They would have to call the police. Right.
And this is my mother we're talking about.
Right.
And, you know, I'm very defensive in that case, but like I felt defenseless, you know. I didn't necessarily know what to say besides, you know, little slick stuff back, but, you know. Did I even answer your question? I feel like I went on a whole different tangent.
You know? No, you did. Keep going, though. Oh, hey, tangents are bruh. Tangents. Do it. No, you did. You did answer my question.
Yeah, no, but he was insanely disrespectful, and that's the community I live in. So those are the people that I have to be aware of when I'm walking around. So I do walk around with that mindset of prejudging in the sense where I'm trying to keep myself safe. I'm trying to keep the people around me safe because I wouldn't know his intentions outside of his workplace because that's how he was behaving at work. So I can only imagine if he caught me outside of work. And, you know, like Oswego, I was called the N-word in the street when I was 16, you know, and stuff like that affects a kid, you know, cognitively. Like, you know, I feel like there's been a silent war just going on socially in America when it comes to race. And I feel like Trump's election just put a spotlight on that silent war. And it just made it public news, and it allowed people to pick a side. And as Americans, you know, we don't want to be on opposing sides because that's the most counterproductive thing we can do. But it's about this great awakening that's going on. You know, it's about discovering yourself, discovering everybody else, and trying to build for the new future.
That's a really interesting point, and I'm gonna come back to that. The new black youth.
Yeah.
Explain that.
So, I'm 23 years old, so I wouldn't even consider myself the youth. But I'm looking at the kids that are, you know, this Generation Z, and the mentality that they have.
And what's that age range now? Is that
like,
kids who are they 18 yet? What's that generation?
I think it's all the kids born in year 2000 and up.
Okay.
Well, like a high schoolers and middle schoolers. I don't think it, you know, includes the like the little kids, but I've been seeing their mentality change just drastically, especially since this was a lot of their first time being able to vote. But they have a fresh mindset in the sense where the things that were socially normal in their cities or in their environments that was self-destructive, they don't want to partake in that anymore. When it comes down to, like, when I was growing up, gang culture was so cool that it was almost forced on me. And that was something that, you know, I'm not going to pretend just because, you know, somebody said it's cool. I'm not going to pretend to be like I'm from the city. I'm not going to say, you know, or throw up gang signs or none of that. Because to me personally, I feel like that's counterproductive as an individual.
Right.
Because I know due to poverty, a lot of people have had to pick a side when it comes down to, you know, just their cities and their societies and their communities. Because again, they don't have nobody's back. Well, the city doesn't have their back, so they have to unify in that sense.
Right.
So I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to take that away from them and impose it because I think it's cool. I think that's corny. So what's corny is copying that culture just because it's cool culture.
The time is now. Oh, excuse me. You are listening to Good Morning Aurora and watching Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. It's 8:37 a.m. and we are joined by our friend, Mr. Sosa.
Yes, sir.
What's the state of black youth in general in America?
So, I feel like the black youth have been suffering for quite a long time, generation to generation. It's been being passed on in the sense where we hold ourselves back in a lot of situations, in a lot of cases. You know, we never educated ourselves on the laws. On law like we should, knowing that we live in America. America is a country that's, you know, ruled by law, and a lot of people don't want to say that, but it's ruled by law. Law is king, but we lack education on law. So what happens is there's, you know, police officers that, you know, quite abruptly take advantage of these situations. You know, they'll pick up a kid that they see hanging outside, probably too late. Instead of you know, reading them their rights or booking them or whatever, they might toss them in the car, beat them up a bit, and just drop them off on another block. They don't know that that's not illegal. They don't know that the youth or someone who is a victim to said type of brutality, you know, when it comes down to educating themselves on the law. And that's just an example. And also, we were a slave to the dollar in the sense where, again, streetwear, how you portrayed yourself was king. And I still think first impressions are king, and how you portray yourself is very important. And the way you dress reflects you as an individual. You know, the way you dress is self-expression. It's a form of art. But I feel like we were getting lost in the sense that we'd spend $600 on a chain instead of using that $600 to invest in something that can make us passive income. But that's starting to change, you know. We're watching this whole shift happen, and I give COVID-19 most of the credit because, again, COVID-19 sat people in their homes. It took away everything that we put value in, you know, going out to bars, clubs, or going to these stores, streetwear conventions, or whatever it may be. It set all of that stuff on the sideline and made us sit there and think. And, you know, there's people who were thinking so hard that they started to go out there and fight over toilet paper. But, you know, it's about self-reflection, and it's about discovering what's important to that individual, because the stuff that we put value in is not necessarily what we should be. And I don't know, I feel like that's where the Great Awakening is taking place. You know, we're realizing that not everything that we value so heavily is stuff that's worth being valued, you know.
Do you think this awakening would have happened without COVID?
I feel like, in a sense, yes, because there's, to me, two parts to this awakening. And our presidency was a part of it. That also shook a lot of boots. And without COVID and this presidency, I don't know if it'll be just as effective.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, but, you know, a lot of people had to come to the conclusion that, man, I can't afford to keep buying this stuff, or I don't even know if I'm going to go back to work. Like when COVID broke off, I was out of work, and a lot of people were, and it just made you reevaluate the things that you put value in. Like, I stopped buying clothes. Like me personally, I used to be a Jordan head. I used to be a sneaker head. I still have a lot of shoes, but I work retail, so a lot of that stuff just came.
That's part of it.
It's part of it. So, like, I stopped going out there trying to spend $300 on a pair of Jordans, because the idea of that to me is almost laughable at this point, because you can't do nothing with it. They'll try to arrest you for going out there playing basketball. So what you buying basketball shoes for?
Right.
You know, you're supposed to be quarantining. So it's a lot of different things. Yeah.
What is it that white people don't understand about black people?
I feel like the biggest misconception is when it comes down to the poverty line in the black community. So when it comes down to crime, let's use Chicago, for example. When it comes down to crime, it's not necessarily a race thing, and that's the biggest misconception. I always hear, like, even myself, the most backhanded compliment is saying, oh, Sosa's a good one. You know, I was introduced to my friend's parents as, oh, you can let Sosa in, he's a good one. And I never really took offense to it until I was able to think about it for real and really contemplate what is a good one. When it comes down to crime in the inner city, it's not necessarily linked to race. It's not because people assume that black people are criminals, therefore they will go out there and commit crime. No. Crime is directly linked to poverty. And we have heavy dosages of poverty all throughout Illinois, Chicago in particular. And when it comes to poverty, there's no coincidence that it's linked to a lot of these black communities. It's not that black people aren't out here working hard. It's not that black people are lazy or any of these negative stereotypes that are pushed or portrayed. It's that there's a lot of impoverished African Americans due to a lot of the situations that we're still developing from. Not even developing from, the things that we're still moving forward from.
Right.
A lot of people tend to forget that America is one of the nations that went out of its way to create laws and codes in hindrance. You know, not even just our ancestors, but my great aunt, you know, grandma, anything like that. You know, they were, you know, purposely targeted by when it came to legislation. And that's why I call it a silent war, because, you know, we're not necessarily being lynched as physical as it would be like in the 40s, 30s, 20s, but they were trying to lynch socially when it came down to marketing and the marketing of black youth, especially in like the 80s and 90s with that whole apex predator mentality that scared all of America and created a very bad narrative. But as you can see, following that stereotype or following those ideas isn't necessarily key, because there's people like you and I. There's people who still strive and fight up against the current. And there's people like you and me who don't use our history as an excuse, because it's not necessarily, as real as it is, I don't want to use it as an excuse. Excuses hold you back from your truest potential. But I feel like, again, that misconception is that, you know, all black people are criminals, and I hate hearing that. but I hear that a lot living in Oswego.
Yeah. I think that the youth of America now, specifically the black youth of America now, I think that their challenges and their hurdles are the same as they've been for African Americans for generations.
Yeah.
But I really believe that now black youth, I don't want to say have nothing to worry about. But in terms of overcoming a lot of the obstacles and barriers, I really think that at the moment, young black kids are, if they're not in control of the horse, they're leading the horse race, because so many of those things that our parents had to go through are just not there anymore. They're not there no more. There's always going to be forklift jobs.
Right.
But there's black folks now who are the production managers of the facilities now.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? You feel me?
I do. I follow you.
I have a little bit of hope, I should say.
I have plenty of hope.
Right.
And, you know, I've been seeing a lot of black young business owners as well.
Right,
and,
right.
you know, it's that like I said, the whole narrative is shifting. Our parents and grandparents fought quite a bit for us to be where we are today, and I feel like, you know, those opportunities were being slept on. But now, again, with this Great Awakening, people are aware of the opportunities that they have, especially with social media. That's a huge marketing platform that we all know how to use very well. We all know how to build our reputation with it, and now people are starting to build a business reputation with it. And, you know, we have all of these tools at our disposal. It just comes down to using them at this point.
Right. I really like this conversation. This is a good conversation, man. We getting into it today. We getting into it. Who's the most prominent black leader that we have?
Like, as a country? Like,
yeah, on a national level.
Honestly, it's hard to say, simply because I'm starting to realize and know that the black agenda isn't the same for everybody. There's not one black ideal that we can all stand behind, because of course there's going to be black Republicans. You know, there's black billionaires now. You know, we're starting to build wealth. So for me personally, it's hard to say who a good black leader is. I feel like the standard answer for me would have been Obama, but I don't see him out there fighting for black equality and black liberation. And that's my personal opinion. You know,
Sure.
I feel like when he was in office, more could have been done. But I also know that he was faced with obstacles when it came down to doing specific things in the office. So it's hard to say. But at least in Aurora, I've been seeing a vast amount of community leaders, a vast amount of black leaders and Latino leaders building on Aurora's culture. And there's so many, I don't even want to list the names. Like, it's abundant, and it's a beautiful thing seeing all of us unifying at this point to build a future for our youth. Because this is kind of irrelevant, but I have a 8-year-old and a 6-year-old niece, and I asked them, you know, like just out of curiosity, because I know when I was that age, I was really oblivious to what was going on in the world. And I asked them, you know, what do they think about the police, or what do they think about Trump, or what do they think about COVID-19 and doing Zoom classes? And they're very bright, very intelligent, beautiful girls, and, you know, they're giving me their spiel, but when it came down to discussions of police, they're terrified of the police. And in my mind, I'm like, you never necessarily had an interaction with the police. You know, what are you afraid of? And, you know, they couldn't necessarily say, but I know mommy's afraid of the police. And the fact that they're afraid of things like that when they're 8 and 6 years old makes me want to be a speaker. It makes me want to share my voice because I want to be a leader for them. I don't want them to have to fear anything. I want to be a protector. I want to be a man and protect the people that I love. But being a man, a black man in America, you only have so much power when it comes down to just the dynamics of America. Like, I mean, we seen it in the Breonna Taylor case where her boyfriend was trying to protect her, and they were still both victimized. And that's a terrifying thought. That still scares me to this day because, he was just trying to protect the person that he loved, and she still got shot dead in the street, and he was still almost a victim himself when it came down to the, criminal system. So, all that is just stuff that I like to take account when I think about, leaders, because there's leaders who again don't necessarily agree with other leaders, and I feel like that the strife or those disagreements is what leads to more misunderstanding. So I feel like labeling a black leader, at least at this point, it's too premature. I feel like everybody needs to take up that mantle. Everybody needs to lead. I feel like it shouldn't be one black leader. I feel like you should lead for what you believe in, fight for what you believe in, and build your own legacy, build your own history.
That makes a lot of sense. I can feel that. Yeah, don't wait for the savior.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Save yourself.
Yeah.
What's on the horizon for Sosa? What's coming up?
So it's ironic because yes, I have a clothing brand, and I do have a drop coming out fairly soon.
Clothing drop?
Clothing drop, yes. And I'm marketing it. I've been getting, it's gonna be dope. If you like clothes, if you want to be warm and comfortable this winter, there's gonna be hoodies, t-shirts, things that you can get behind. But when it comes down to my branding, I try not to beat people over the head with the ideas of global warming or the ideas of inequality within the country. Like, it's subtle with my designs. I don't want people to feel like they have to pick a side if they want to wear it. But all of those same ideals that I believe in are in the garment. I make them with those ideas. But I don't even want to focus on my clothes. I want to focus on keep building upon this discussion, but in my real life. I want to keep bettering my community. I want to keep bettering the social dynamics of people. I want people to be able to look and have a discussion like you and I, whether you are Republican, Democrat. Honestly, I feel like political parties is just another way to divide people. But I feel like people who are divided needs to unify and discuss, because only things that will only be resolved need to be through discussion. And in that sense, there's a lot to talk about. I just want to keep walking in the direction that's going to better myself and the people around me. So those steps that I made will, spread. So the steps that everyone make around me betters themselves and the people around them. Because if we keep doing that, we're just going to have a better society, a better community. So it's about building those relationships, finding what's normal to you as an individual, walking by that, living by that, and spreading that word.
So the first time I ever chopped it up and talked to you, I think we just talked briefly. You were at like pre-mill and we just chopped it up about clothes. Oh, what up? And so that was it. The second time I met you, though, was when we were sitting outside of City Hall, and that was completely different.
Yeah.
We were there talking about social justice issues, community issues, and real stuff. There was no hip-hop. There was no clothing.
Nope.
There was no fresh drop with the gear. None of that. And I remember sitting next to you, I was like, yo, this is the dude I was talking with about the hip-hop shit. Like, yo, he's here?
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I like that.
Thank you.
I like when young black people are, I mean, have your passions,
Mm-hmm.
but like able to come to the table and sit down and chop real issues that affect people's lives and try to do your part to help the social dynamic. I like that. I was like, that's when it was that moment. I was like, yo, I'm gonna get this dude on for an interview someday.
And it's interesting because I've always felt like I cared to speak on these things, but I've never had the heart to. I was always too nervous, or especially in my community, whenever I discuss some of my ideals, they'll instantly be shot down by someone who disagrees, and I'm not standing for that anymore.
Right.
What I'm standing for is I'm trying to stand for you. I'm trying to stand for me. I'm trying to stand for my nieces. I'm trying to stand for everybody. And if we all stand for each other, there's nobody who's going to be a victim of anything, because we have each other. So I feel like that's what's really important is, again, building a community. You don't even have to be neighbors. It doesn't have to just be in Aurora. We can build a global community just through social media. Just sharing ideas and ideals on how humanity not even needs to be led, but what is humanity? I feel like what's important is asking the question why. Just why. When it comes down to anything that doesn't make sense, I encourage people to ask why. Because the definition that you are then given will make a lot of light on, one, the person that you asked and what they define so-and-so as, because that sheds light on their character. And, asking questions only build you up. There's so many people who are so absorbed in their own reality that they don't see others' realities. And life is interesting simply because, it's all about perspective. The life that I live may be completely different from yours, therefore you don't even have it. It's almost like a different universe in that sense.
Right.
So just sharing ourselves with each other, sharing ourselves with people, it only creates opportunity. Just to get to know each other, to get to build and learn and create a society, especially in the Black community, because there was a period of time where there's Black people intimidated by other Black people. There's and that narrative is shifting, thank God, but that's something that should have never gotten to this point, because we've seen it in the 60s and 70s. We were the most united that we've ever been. Then as time went on, we almost became a nomadic group where we're divided by communities, by blocks, by cities. We have Black people in the suburbs. We have Black people in cities. Then we have people in poverty, people with wealth. It's a whole spectrum of different realities that we live. But when it comes down to it, it doesn't even matter what the color of your skin is. It just matters if we can live in harmony together.
Right.
So it's just about breaking down those walls and building up a new foundation for like I said, for the new Black youth, for a new future, because we're building this for them. You're building what you're doing, the great stuff that you're doing with this podcast. You're building it for your son, and that's the ideal. That's the ideal way of life. We just have to build wealth for the people coming after us, because we have the opportunity now.
Right.
So.
That's right. We do. We do. And me as an individual, anything positive that Black folks is doing will always get a shout out on Good Morning. Anything positive. You're doing anything positive to move the ball forward for the people, always got a spot on Good Morning Aurora.
Yeah.
So the show ends on a positive note. What is your message to the people of Aurora? Well, the youth, Oswego too, shout outs, on this Tuesday.
What I will say to everybody who's listening is keep an open mind when it comes down to individuals. If it's somebody that you wouldn't usually say hi to, say hi, and you may get a surprising response back, just because it's about building relationships. To me, that's what's natural, is human communication. I'm not the biggest on social media, so I'm not a fan of liking something or leaving a comment, because to me it doesn't feel natural. What feels natural is going out there, being a part of your community, being a part of reality. And it's a bit hard with COVID, but just step out of your comfort zone and meet somebody new. That's my message.
That's wonderful. All right, man. We appreciate having you on the show.
Man, I appreciate the opportunity. No, this was amazing.
Dope, man. Very dope.
Yes, sir.
So, on behalf of Good Morning Aurora, we'd like to say thank you to our brother Sosa for coming out. Check out Death and Designer. New drop is coming
soon.
Coming soon. Okay. deathanddesigner.com.
Deathanddesigner.com. Yes,
.com is the website, so please go check out everything that he has going on. Shout out to Tracy Duran, shout out to Vanessa Aguirre as well. Thank you to all of our listeners and subscribers. Don't forget to check out the YouTube, subscribe to that. Please subscribe to the YouTube page. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Other than that, the second largest city's first daily news podcast will be back tomorrow. We appreciate you again, my brother.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yep, and everybody out there, peace. That.